Okay, Chodesh Tov. So Rosh Chodesh, this would be for the second day of Rosh Chodesh, which is Shabbat. So please don't watch this on Shabbat. Watch this before or after, but not on Shabbat. We'll get this out early enough that you can do that. And then we're starting. This is the week of Tiferet now. So this is Gevurah Sheb Tiferet. Gevurah in Tiferet, or like strict justice or strictness inside of beauty. And the one thing I want to mention, since we were talking about this yesterday, about like look for the beauty in something. I just want to point it out because there's actually a couple people, YouTube comments. So off the cuff with Joe, he puts out some nice compliments. So, that would be one thing, like to look for the beauty in something. And then there's another Dark Light Delirium. Most people don't know, but he's actually been watching this channel, oddly enough, since the very beginning. And he's probably watched more videos than anybody else. But most people don't realize this, but he's actually really darn good at poetry. So maybe he'll drop a few lines of really good poetry that's uplifting for the rest of us in this video. So if you're out there, Dark Light Delirium, drop something nice for us. Okay, so Gevurah Tiferet. So Gevurah and Tiferet are two forces in the world that evoke strong emotions in us. So Gevurah is the source of strength from within, but the internal essence is actually fear. So on the other hand, Tiferet represents beauty. So the combination of these two forces is where the real beauty lies. So Gevurah of Tiferet leaves us feeling awe and fear when we witness something amazing. And actually, that's the one quality of fear that most people don't realize, is that there's an awe to it. Like if you see like a big bear in the woods, like there's an awe to that. And that's what like really shocks you too. So that's when we try to internalize these two powerful energies, we can gain a great appreciation for life and all of Hashem's creation. So although Gevurah is often understood to mean strength, in Kabbalistic terms, the internal part of Gevurah actually refers to fear or awe. So fear is not always a negative thing. In Hebrew, norah, in a variation of yirah, it can also have multiple interpretations, such as something terrible, something horrific, or simply fearful. We see, for example, that in the book of Tehillim, it says we must serve Hashem with fear. But David Melech is not telling us to be afraid of Hashem, but rather to serve him with fear. This is where the awe comes from. Because, like, let's say you're on the side of the Grand Canyon, like you're looking over the cliff of the Grand Canyon. There's a little bit of fear there, but that fear is literally the awe of the vastness of what you just see. You're feeling the wind, maybe the sun beating down on you, or maybe even the moon, the darkness of night. And you just see this big geologic gap in the earth. And it's like, that's so awe-inspiring. There's a little bit of fear. That's what the fear comes from, is the awe. Okay? And everything in creation that has that awe to it, it's the awe of Hashem. So that's why this is kind of interesting. So we will explain this type of fear in a minute. The verse continues by saying that we should also rejoice with quaking, which is usually associated with fear. So even though Gevurah is often understood to mean strength, the internal part of Gevurah, Pimiut, Sefirat HaGevurah, can also be interpreted as fear. So this can seem confusing, but when looking at the combination of Gevurah of Tiferet, fear and beauty, there is an understanding that beauty can sometimes evoke a great sense of fear within us. But Gevurah doesn't mean fear. It means like a strictness or a justice, and different things associated with that idea. So he's coming in with fear because justice and strictness comes from the Creator, the true judge, right? So you have fear and awe of the true judge. So an example of this can be being caught in a storm on a boat. It's both an awe-inspiring experience, but one can also fill us with dread and make us question our ability to survive. So when one experiences activities like bungee jumping or skydiving, they have a moment of fear as they look down and question whether the parachute will open. So very often things that appear beautiful from far away can be quite frightening when experienced up close. So this is certainly true when swimming amongst sharks. It looks majestic and stunning until you are right next to them. Looking upon a great valley might be awe-inspiring, but it can also bring us on a feeling of fear. So this isn't necessarily the feeling of being scared, but instead a sense of yirat haromimut, so a feeling of reverence or respect for something superior. So these moments can be fleeting, but they are powerful and remind us of our own insignificance in the face of Hashem's greatness. So experiencing yirat haro remut, fear of something greater than oneself, can be powerful. In moments of awe-inspiring beauty, we can be reminded of our insignificance compared to the infinite Hashem, the Ein Sof. So Ein Sof means without limit or without boundary. So the Creator is called Ein Sof or Ein Sof, the light without boundary or without end, because the Creator is everything. The whole universe is the Creator. And for creation to exist, the Creator has just stepped back in a certain aspect of his essence in some way that we can barely comprehend for things like us to exist. I think I've dealt with this in another video, how Tesla had his theory of matter in the universe really corresponds Kabbalistically to this idea. But anyway, so these ephemeral moments can help us to pause and contemplate how small we are in the grand scheme of things. So you may want to reach the moments in your life where you contemplate creation. You see that in Hebrew, Bria and Beyira are composed of the same letters, just in a different order. So creation, Bria, and fear, Beyira, so in fear, the same idea expressed through different words. So through this contemplation, you come to understand your own insignificance in comparison to the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be He. So the idea is to recognize the beauty in creation and have a sense of awe and reverence for God. So Yirat Shamayim, so fear of heaven. To reach that level of spiritual understanding, you don't need to take extreme measures like bungee jumping or swimming with sharks. You must contemplate creation and come to terms with your insignificance compared to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a sense of greatness, not necessarily a fear that He will punish you, but understanding your own powerlessness and insignificance. You come to have a profound sense of humility, which helps you to reach an even greater appreciation for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you're looking for ways to apply and recognize the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be He, practically you don't need to go on treks in the Far East. Instead, take a moment to look around and observe the beauty of creation, be it a mountain range or something smaller like a blade of grass. You can meditate on and appreciate God's power with many different types of Jewish meditation, and one such type is Hitbonenut, or deep contemplation of creation. So there's Hitbonenut and Hitbodedut. There's different streams. There's a couple different streams of Judaism that favor one or the other. So this makes you feel awe. So that's contemplation of creation, Hitbonenut. So this makes you feel awe and reverence, enabling you to say, Ma rabu ma'asecha Hashem, how great are your works, Hashem. Observing the beauty and precision of all of God's creation should bring you to an appreciation of His greatness. Gevurah, Tiferet. So awe and fear of the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this combination brings you to humility and enables you to refine yourself to come closer and closer to Him. This awareness, this understanding of your own insignificance compared to Him is a beautiful thing and comes with recognizing His majesty everywhere. So the idea about the Ein Sof, or the Creator, being everything but still allowing us to exist, is that if He's everything, then He would have to withdraw Himself in a certain way for something to exist, right? So He's creating a void. And that's where we get the idea of the vessels, because the light that He put into those vessels was greater than what the vessels could handle. So think of like a bubble. Like you create a bubble, you withdraw certain air to create that bubble, and then if you interjected something into that bubble, it shatters. So in this case, the world is darkness, and into that goes light. So there's an interesting idea that Tesla, his idea of the universe was basically this speed of light is really, really fast. But wave propagation, the speed of wave propagation is basically related to the density of the medium that it's traveling through. So sound travels through steel fast because steel has a very high density. It will travel faster through sound will travel faster through steel than it does through air. Okay, so now if we take that concept and we have the speed of light, so whatever the medium is for electromagnetic media, the electromagnetic waves, so the medium that it is going through has to be extremely high density extremely high density, which is almost like you might consider it like the God material. So whenever he withdraws himself, matter is like a bubble in that electromagnetic medium. Maybe it's a concept that you don't really understand, but I wanted to get that out there just for this idea because it's very interesting to think about. So, Or Ein Sof. Okay, take care.